Hey family, a couple weeks ago, I sat down with Greg and Patsy Hicks to talk about how following Jesus impacts their business in an industry that has been wrecked by COVID-19 and is thankfully beginning to recover. So I learned so much from my time with them, and I think you will too. So I hope you enjoy part 2 of our conversation. Guys, for doing that.
And I hope we've done everything right. I don't know that we've done
everything. Because you operate out of fear. Like, it's coming at you from all sides.
Oh,
so you're like, oh my word.
You're right.
How is this going to work out? And so you do. Your initial reaction is, no. Like, we can't help this. So, like, we can't take it all. And so you do. But then I think you just have to step back and have those moments of, you know what? None of us can control this, and we just have to trust that the Lord will take care of us.
That's good.
Whatever that looks like,
yes,
which is hard as well to say, God, whatever that looks like, it's okay.
That's hard. I'm one that tends to, yes, I may pray, God, what direction do you want? And my prayer, and I've shared this with a number of people, but my prayer in end of March was, God, just make us a miracle through this.
That's good.
Not knowing what that was, I've just kind of during my my quiet time one morning, I just felt encouraged to pray that. So just, God, make us a miracle. And that's great, and that's all super spiritual preacher talk and all that stuff. But like, because I'm me, I've already put expectation on what God's going to do.
Makes sense.
Through that. And so I struggle with, Lord, show us, what do you want us to do, and how do we navigate this? And at the same time I'm praying, I'm already like, ooh, yeah, we're going to do that, and that's going to be the thing that God does, and so it's been a great journey of trusting daily. And sometimes, especially, March through May, 6, 8, 9 times a day, trusting as to what, how do we navigate and what do we do, and what's our next step, to at some point it's not how do we thrive, it's how do we survive today.
Right.
And so again, back to one of the things that I said, in the beginning was and I said this to Patsy even a couple weeks ago. I'm so thankful that God gives me confirmation that I'm His through things like I'm just driven to rely on Him. I'm driven to hope in Him because I look at what's going on. And let's face it, the reality is, like, our family's not suffering in health, and it's not been a great tragedy. We've not lost everything, and kind of you can imagine like how could the cookie really crumble, but the truth is that if we didn't pivot and rely on God, we could have.
Yes, you could have. That's right.
So it has been a journey of faith and trusting that is not over, nor will it ever be over.
You're right.
It's just going to look different next year.
And I think maybe that's a lesson that we can all take from this is the dependence that we've been forced to show now. May we be that dependent when we're not forced to show it. May we recognize that even when things are good and it's thriving and you've got 5 weddings next weekend with 300 plus people, because we're in 2021 at some point, and it's better that you're still realizing, because it's still true, that there are still 6 or 8 decisions a day, or maybe 18, that you have to surrender and you have to trust Him.
Yeah.
And I think that's a challenge for us, but the Holy Spirit can lead us there.
Yeah. And it's resting, which is not easy. So it's easy to say, but it's resting in the truth that God is our provider.
Oh man, you're right.
And so it's not, and I've said this for years, God doesn't really care about Impressions Catering. He cares about us. And so that's what He's using to care for us.
It's good.
But it is challenging, but to realize the truth that God is our provider, and it could be, it could be through catering. It could be through tacos. It could be through pickup meals. It could be through, I don't know, so we've, especially in kind of in the middle of April, we were kind of at a point where we're like, what's next? Is now time for us to look at doing something else? What's that opportunity, or really seeking for that next step, whether that involved Impressions Catering or not, whatever that was. And one of the things that the biggest impact, and I think a positive impact of COVID and all the shutdown and all the mandates and all the restrictions upon our industry, was for 20 years, I've pretty much not had a weekend off.
That's true.
And so where we didn't enjoy or take advantage of stay at home 5 days a week, work from home, because again, we transitioned pretty quickly into meal pickup of some kind.
Yes.
And so thankful for all of that business that we were able to do. We almost immediately, it was before the end of March, got a call or a Facebook message, I guess, from a contact that we know in charge of Medical Center Pharmacy. And we fed Medical Center Pharmacy 25 people 5 days a week.
That's
so
awesome.
that they would limit contact so that people would come, and we provided lunch. And it was make whatever, as long as it's hot and food, and make whatever. And so we were able to utilize product that we had that was readily available, and then doing our pickup meals, all that kind of stuff. So we went from full on catering to about a week of rest-ish, in that we didn't have any events, to then pickup meals and feeding the pharmacy. And it's only been about a month ago or so that we stopped feeding the pharmacy. So for that,
that's helpful.
Yes. We're so thankful for that.
But then we weren't doing anything on the weekends.
So you had some more time.
Oh yeah.
Some more margin with your family.
We were home in the evening. So our clients, we try to meet with them whenever it's convenient for them. There are a lot of out of town or whatever, and so they want to meet in the evenings or weekends, which is when most of our events are.
Yes.
So we just work all the time.
Yes.
And so we were able to be home in the evenings.
Together.
We were able to, and it struck me it's either late April or May. We were sitting on the back porch at the Arps, and Kristen had texted us and said, "Hey, you want to come over and talk about the message when it's over?" And, yeah, sure. So about 11:30 or so.
Socially distanced.
Yeah. Socially distanced.
We were outside.
Yes.
Yeah, we're outside. Yeah, and taking all the proper precautions. And 11:30 or so, we're over there, and we didn't leave till the other neighbors came over. We decided we were going to cook out, and so we went back, and it was like 8 or 9 o'clock. So we literally all day. But one of the things that either Corey or our other neighbor said was, "Oh yeah, Greg, you've not been able to enjoy this because you're always working on the weekends." And it was at that moment that I was like, oh, this is really where life is, And so what I've learned is not that catering is evil, and not that, I knew I was somewhat workaholic-ish, my mind never stops. I'm always on go. But I was able to have life.
Yes.
So for almost 20 years, there was a rare time that I was able to be off on a weekend. And so we work hard all week, and then we work the weekend when we're actually doing the event.
Yes.
And I think about all the band competitions and show choir competitions and family gatherings and neighborhood gatherings and all those things, that birthday parties and stuff that I've missed because, an event or something, or that we were planning to do this weekend, it was scheduled a year ago, and so I was able to, for the first time in, again, about 20 years, enjoy life, and spend time. And I think that, and I had mentioned to you, I guess, at one of our Sunday night gatherings, like what is good has come out of it is our marriage, I believe, has been strengthened because we've been able to spend more time together, not at work, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's something coming out of this, or as we're still in it, but I mean, as we're working through, it's how do we do what we do and still pursue excellence and still do everything that we can with godly integrity, and but then also have a life.
Wow.
And be able to pour into, and again, our kids are older, 24, 22, and 17. They still need us.
Yes.
And I want to be there for them, So there's a great potential that here in the next couple of years I could be a grandfather. I want, yeah, right. That's scary.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But like, I want to be able to keep the babies,
Yes.
or hang out on the back porch, or and so that's on a personal level, it's how do we continue to either do what we do, and yet still be able to pour into our marriage and our family and our friends and people that we want us to hold us accountable, want them to hold us accountable, and that we want to hold accountable, and kind of discipleship and those kind of things, instead of pouring every energy into just running the business.
Wow.
So it's been kind of a wake up call for me, me specifically, and thinking through the time that I've not been able to spend. And when it came around toward the end of May, okay, restaurants can open back up and you can gather again. And one of the great things was within a couple of days of those kind of restrictions being lifted, we booked 2 weddings for the following week that weren't even on the books. Like, they were just waiting for something to happen, and then okay, go, and it was just planned everything from scratch. But when that time came, my first thought was, oh, I don't know that I want to go back to the way we were.
Yes.
And
so reimagining that word.
That's where that reimagining comes in.
That it is true, and we are still in that process, because for us, when you live and work in the business, you live and work in the business. And so it's very difficult to do something outside of that. It's like living in a house that you are redoing.
Oh yeah. It's a great analogy.
It's just hard. Like, sometimes you just overlook. Like, we were in a house like that. There was a patch in the wall in the bathroom of our master bedroom for 12 years that we only fixed because we were moving.
That is awesome.
So that's where we are. We had to start going again. But now we're like, how do we make time to reimagine so that all the things that God worked in us during COVID, of just being expectant of what is he going to do next, instead of in fear of, oh my goodness, what is happening next? And then wanting to live life with family because of work being just challenging for time. So what does that look like, and how do we do that? And God, where do you want us to go? How do we do this?
That's good.
So that's kind of where we are today.
Yes.
Is how do we do that within the confines of we still have to make money.
Oh yes, you do.
Because we still have to pay people and we still have to live. And then, Lord, how do we accomplish that and honor you? And I think that's what I learned later in life about God, is like, our goal should be to glorify him. Well, how do we do that through all of that we've learned this year?
That's good.
How do we glorify him?
And I love that, because you don't have some cookie cutter answers, or you don't have like, here's 7 steps to, but you're wrestling with it.
We are.
And that's something my friend Chris Walker has challenged me with, and I've really just grown into this time, is kind of resting in the wrestle, because it's active, but yet I can't finish it. So I have to like rest in the active wrestle. I know it sounds like a paradox, but it's so true.
Oh yeah.
So I love that you guys are in that, and that gives us a specific way to pray for you, that you are able to reimagine that, and find those healthy rhythms coming out of this that allow you to really apply what you've learned.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll ask this is my favorite question to ask when I sit down with somebody, which is, what should I be asking?
Right.
So pose your own question and answer it.
So wait, you should be asking, or
what should I be asking you guys?
That he's not asking.
Yeah, what am I not asking that I should be asking? And this could be parenting, business, you take this wherever you want, but like, you get to write your own question and answer.
I don't know about, what we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot here.
We talk a lot.
I love
which
it.
is good.
Yes.
Sometimes we never come to a resolution and we leave the conversation like, we just talked a lot about, let's go back to what we were doing, I don't know, I guess, the big question is, I guess one of the big questions for us is, where are you going to go from here?
That's good.
So we've talked about wanting life and, desiring to treat people well and have a godly perspective, and still, we do still have to operate as a business because it's foolish not to count the cost and,
exactly.
and all those kind of things. But where is it that we go from here? And the truth is that we are in that process.
That's good.
And I don't know that we have an answer to that in terms of I think one of the great things is we have a lot of opportunities. We have, if 2020 put you at the bottom, all you can the only place you have to go is up, right?
Yes.
It can only get better, right? And that's our hope, of course. So we're already seeing some of that, but it's just trusting God through the process and understanding that the process is the product.
Yes.
And understanding that God is working all things together for good, and the things that we don't. That I think I would speak for both of us, that we don't want to lose is things like being able to have a conversation that's not about business.
That's good.
Or being able to work through things that are pertaining to business, and for our betterment, and spending that time. Or because I didn't have to be up, to see Will off to school or whatever, I was up and I was in the Word more, and I don't want to change that. So you mentioned, it was either this past week or the week before, what are the habits that you are currently doing? That's what's going to transfer, into post-COVID. And, I don't want to lose that time where I was getting up, earlier before the day started. And again, my mind is already going before I wake up. It's already on the next 12 things that I need to do. But before I get into it, getting into the Word, being quiet before the Lord, and really, truly praying, for direction. And those are things that I don't want to just go back to normal.
So I have a question.
I love it. You have a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that, I think, a question that you could ask us is, how do you trust the Lord when things don't go the way you plan them to or want them to?
When He doesn't meet my expectations that I've already put on Him.
Yes. So how do you do that?
Well, I have a lot of moments talking to God when I'm alone a lot driving, since everybody drives themselves everywhere now, and so I spend a lot just talking to God and listening to worship music and then crying through some of that. And so sometimes I just get angry and I just say, you know what? I don't understand why you didn't answer the prayer the way I thought it should go. And I don't understand this and I don't understand that. But He always brings me back.
That's good.
And I end the conversation with, I don't understand, but I trust you anyway.
That's good.
And that is something I've just held on to for years, because things haven't gone the way I wanted or planned, but He's always taken care of us.
Yes.
It may not have been in the way that I wanted, but He's always provided, and He's always been faithful. And hope is a word that I have clung to for years. And if I had a tattoo, that's the one that I would have, is the word hope.
That's good.
And I always think of just hope thou in God, just hope in Him, because it may not look picture perfect, but it is His perfect for us.
That's really good. thank you for sharing that. And I think that applies to us whether we're in business or not.
Yeah.
Yes.
That way we trust him. And I mean, I love that. I want to write it down after this. Like, I don't understand, but help me to trust you. Is that the right, am I saying it correctly?
I trust him anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. I say it to him, like, God, I just don't get it. I don't get it, but I trust you.
Yes.
I know you're God.
Yes.
I know you sent your son to die for me, and I know you love me.
Oh, that's good.
And that's it.
Just cling into that
And
rock.
just cling to it.
It honestly reminds me of the song we sang Sunday in our gatherings, Bigger Than I Thought. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. It's like, that's it.
That's it.
You know? I love it. Well, thank you guys. This has been absolutely incredible. And I know I've said this when I've had other conversations, but I am better for our time together, and I believe that everyone who gets a chance to watch this, and hey, some of you guys may watch this in 2023, and you stumble across this, you're like, whoa, so that's what happened? But the lessons still apply. They will apply then just as much as they do today.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Yes. See you guys next time.